In the early morning hours of a New York villa district, the sun hadn't yet penetrated the mist, and the courtyard was so quiet that only the chirping of birds could be heard. After the heavy rain, the air was exceptionally crisp. When Haley awoke, the world outside seemed cleansed of all impurities, yet her heart felt heavier than ever. The storm from last night still lingered, not just the weather, but also the anonymous text message and Alexander's all-night vigil. She stared at his sleeping face, feeling both grateful and uneasy. How long could this tranquility last? As she went downstairs, she noticed the atmosphere in the villa was unusually tense. Eric had been on patrol since early morning, and there were 2 extra security guards at the door. Linda whispered to her, "Don't go out too late these days, and remember to lock doors and windows." "What happened?" Haley asked, casually. Linda whispered, "There were strangers wandering outside the fence last night." Eric was worried it might be a reporter or someone with bad intentions. Haley nodded, but she knew in her heart that these strangers might not just be the media, they might be Richard's people, or spies sent by Brandon, or even more dangerous. The atmosphere at the breakfast table was as quiet as ever. Alexander had clearly not slept well, with dark circles under his eyes. He held the newspaper, occasionally looking out the window. "Were there any extra security personnel last night?" he asked. "They are all there, it's just that the other party was very alert and didn't leave any traces," Eric answered concisely. Alexander nodded, and suddenly handed its newspaper to Haley. "Take a look." The front page photo featured the exterior of the Blue Heart nightclub, with a sensational headline, "Mysterious Shadows at Night, Newly Wealthy Elites, Missing Girls, and Feuds Among the Rich." The article hyped up the various legends behind the nightclub, and hinted that the recent series of events were all related to the Volkov family. Haley looked at the familiar scene, her heart tightening. She couldn't help but ask, "Is Richard behind all this?" Alexander said calmly. "He's good at using the media to spread rumors and put pressure on me." "Are you in danger?" Haley worried subconsciously. Alexander smiled and said, "Don't worry, with you here, I'm not afraid of any storm." She knew he was just comforting himself, but this tenderness still made ripples in her heart. In the afternoon, Haley went to work according to the coffee shop's schedule. As soon as she entered the door, she heard several colleagues whispering about her. "What's her family background?" "You ask, why would someone send bodyguards to pick her up every day? And that new guy, Brandon, always tips her every time he comes. He's obviously after her, right? It's definitely not simple. Maybe it's connected to those nightclub grudges." She could only pretend nothing happened and concentrate on making coffee. Butch felt bitter in her heart. She tried not to care, but these gazes were as omnipresent as the air. During lunch break, Tina came to her and asked, "Do you feel like someone is following you lately?" Haley was stunned and asked in a low voice, "How do you know?" "I saw a black car near your house last night. Be careful and don't be alone." "Could it be Richard or Brandon?" Haley's voice trembled a little. Tina shook her head. "Neither of these 2 people is easy to deal with, but I think what you should worry about most are those invisible enemies." Haley nodded, taking her friend's reminder to heart. When she returned to the villa in the evening, it was already dark. Alexander was waiting for her in the study, with a security report spread out on the table. "Did you notice anything wrong today?" he asked as soon as she saw her come in. Haley confessed. "There seemed to be a black car following me all the way," Alexander said solemnly. "It seems Richard is plotting something. Again, I've asked Eric to investigate the owner of the car. No matter where he goes next time, be sure to tell me. You really don't have to protect me all the time. I can learn to protect myself." Haley resisted subconsciously. Alexander sighed, a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "You are not my vassal, but you are also someone I must protect." The wind howled outside, and inside, the 2 stared at each other silently. The unspoken emotion seemed particularly real in the face of danger. Around midnight, a strange noise was heard in the villa's back garden. Security rushed out, and Eric, armed with a flashlight, inspected every corner. Haley hid behind window, her heart pounding. A few minutes later, Eric caught a stranger. The man's face was filled with fear, but he kept shouting, "I don't know anything. I'm just delivering food." "Stop pretending. You're sneaking around outside the courtyard wall, with your phone full of photos of the villa," Eric said coldly. Alexander walked out the door and ordered the security guard, with a gloomy face, call the police. The man was subdued and taken away, and the villa finally returned to peace, but Haley knew that this was just prelude to a greater crisis. Late at night, Haley tossed and turned. She thought back to the nights past, and how every dangerous moment was like a test, drawing her and Alexander closer together, and filling her with growing doubts. She picked up her phone and typed a text message. "How are you doing recently? Is there anything I can do for you?" She sent it to Alexander, but she didn't have the courage to click send. She held her phone to her chest and prayed silently. No matter how stormy it gets, I will guard my heart. Downstairs, Alexander was in his study, on the phone. Keep tracking down that black car. Tell Brandon if he gets involved in our affairs again, I'm going to be brutal. After hanging up the phone, Hal looked up at the old photos in the wall of the study, with light and hurt in his eyes. As the morning arrives, the New York sunshine shines into this villa where undercurrents surge, danger still lurks in the dark, but trust and love are quietly taking root.
Please stay tuned for the next episode.
See you there.